Hi guys, I hope you are well, and thank you to everyone that tuned in to our T50 reveal video on Wednesday. There was over 250,000 of you, and the feedback on the video has been absolutely fantastic, so thank you to you all. Now, I've looked back through the footage from that day, and there's so much more interesting chit-chat between myself and Gordon that I think you guys should see. There's two especially interesting things he has to say. One is a very refreshingly frank take on the Aston Martin Valkyrie, I guess a T50's rival, and the other is the homologation process they had to go through to make a fan car road legal, or should I say the lack of homologation process. So if you're a car geek like me, here's 20 minutes of Gordon Murray being an absolute engineering genius.
There's so many little reminiscent F1 things all over the place.
Well, of course, the layout is virtually identical, except the cabin, we made a bit more space in this one. The layout and the architecture is very similar. So obviously the proportions are going to be, quite similar. It really moves it on, another level again, really.
Manual rev counter?
Yes.
Can that keep up?
It's probably going to wind the spindle off.
Yeah.
The needle is machined aluminium, not plastic, so it's got a bit to move. Yeah.
Has that been tested, or are you just waiting to see what happens?
No, it hasn't yet, no.
Well, that'll be interesting. Because I remember when I've seen footage of the F1 rev up, it does, stutter a bit.
I made it, the cable-driven rev counters were chronometric, and they used to go up in little steps. So I had a stepper motor on the F1 to make it look like that.
Oh, okay. Because it's just a vision I've got of, it's sort of in steps.
Yeah. The Brabham fan car was a blunt instrument. I mean, it was a silly thing, really. It was a vacuum cleaner. It had skirts around the outside, and it literally sucked itself. This is much more aircraft technology. It's called boundary layer control. You remove let's call it the dirty air, the vortices, in a very steep diffuser where the air refuses to follow it. You remove all that with a fan, and then the air is forced to follow the actual shape of the diffuser. Every designer on the planet would love to have diffusers that just start and go like that.
Yeah.
But you have to do them really gradually so you don't get stalling, separation. So we force the air to follow it, and that gives the driver much more control.
And you don't need skirts because of that?
No, because that's the crude bit of the fan car. That was literally a fan creating suction. This fan creates flow, a little bit of suction, but it creates flow.
Right.
And it has to get rid of all that, those vortices and boundary layer to make the diffuser more efficient. But the clever thing about it is it interacts with the top and bottom surface of the car in different modes. So the driver can have whatever he likes, really, which under normal circumstances, a ground effect car, you're just slave to car speed, full stop. The drag goes up with the square of the speed. The downforce goes up or down with the square of the speed. But with this, the driver can actually select whatever he wants. Another cool thing, I did it just because I could, really. On the fan car, we had a pitot tube on the front, little like an aeroplane, and we had the other end of that underneath the car because I was worried about the drivers going into a corner too fast if the skirts broke and they lost the suction, or the fan exploded or something. And they'd be going 30 miles an hour too quick to go around the corner. So we had a converted altimeter from an aeroplane, and a green zone and a red zone, and the pitot tube and the suction told them whether the skirt had broken or not. So I said to Nicky Lauda, every corner you go into, you make sure you're in the green. And he said he drove the whole race, he didn't look at the rev counter, he drove the whole race looking at the pitot tube thing. So on this, one of the cameras on the outside, doubles the left-hand one, it's got a pitot tube in it, and the other end of that signal comes from under the diffuser. So when the driver selects a mode on the top left knob, the left-hand screen shows him how much suction he's generating. So we sort of carried that bit over, if you like.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when the first press release came out, and obviously we didn't know exactly how it worked. I thought our customer is going to be downshifting into second or first for corner entry to blow the revs up.
No, it's not.
So how confident are you feeling when inevitably Evo or Top Gear have this Valkyrie and the AMG1 all on one track?
Don't care. They're looking at totally different things. The Valkyrie's only mission in life is to go around a track quicker than any other car, and I think the Porsche's already smashed that record on the Nürburgring by over a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, you've made a really good important point there, because If you've got a record that is power level, top speed, lap time, inevitably you're going to get beaten. It might be 3 years or it might be a month. There'll be some garagista in America who puts together a car that goes 5 miles an hour quicker. If you're making a statement that this will be the best V12 ever, and that will be the best driving experience ever because it's under 1,000 kilos, it's NA, it's central driving position, you know you're not going to get beaten for a long, long time, or if ever. And that's a really good point, actually. If you just make a statement, if you're building the whole car to go faster around on a lap time, on a circuit, somebody's going to beat you one day.
Yeah.
And Porsche, I think rather cheekily, did that Nürburgring lap time. And I spoke to the guys there and they said, we can go quicker anytime we want to.
Right, just turn up the wick slightly.
Turn up the wick, more downforce.
Yeah.
How quick do you want to go? So I don't know. It depends on, I suppose, selling your brand. If that's important to that brand to be the fastest car around a track, then fine, you know.
How does that sort of project appeal to you? Just like no regulations, make this car go as fast as physically possible around a track?
Not really. Not at all. I spent 20 years of my life doing that.
Yeah.
And I got bored of that in the end. This is an entirely different challenge.
Because I guess most sort of budding engineers would think that being given an LMP1 car and just say, right, tear it apart, do what you want, might be the greatest thing ever. But so what was it about that F1 era that you got bored about?
You could do that virtually in the 70s and 80s. The regulations allowed you to do outrageous things, you know, and you could go a second. Once we went a second and a half a lap quicker between Grand Prix, you know. The guys now, they bite your arm off for a tenth of a second, you know.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't excite me at all. The total experience, not just V12 lightweight central driving position, but everything, the controls, the quality, the level of engineering, where somebody has a huge smile on their face when they get out of it. That's the challenge I love.
So I've heard that you're kicking about in the same car as my boss, James May. He's got an Alpine A110.
Yes.
Am I right in saying that? Because what you described there sounds a lot like an Alpine A110.
Yeah, that's my everyday car.
Yeah.
For 16 years, I had a smart Roadster. That was my everyday car.
Amazing.
And then I just couldn't find, it was falling to pieces.
But the gearbox is not awful.
The gearbox is horrible, yeah. But it becomes a challenge to make it fun after you've owned it for a year. After 16 years, it's part of the car, basically. But it started rattling and squeaking and falling apart. And I thought, what do? Do I get a newer one? That's not terribly exciting. And then the Alpine came along and I thought, well, that's halfway house, you know, it's quite light. Yeah. It's very rigid, it's got fantastic ride and handling. We benchmarked it for this.
Is that your LAN outside as
yes,
well? Do you buy heavy cars or are they all?
I've got 41 under 900 kilos.
Wow. Where'd you keep all of them? Is there a big warehouse?
Some of them are next door, some of them are at home. They're around here or at home.
So do you have a 2-ton Touareg or Defender or something?
No.
Is that just not?
I do have 2 4x4s though, I have to admit. I've got a 20-year-old Renault Kangoo 4x4 in Scotland.
Cool.
I've got a house in Scotland.
Oh, cool. Where about?
Torridon.
Oh, yeah.
Shieldig.
Nice.
On West
such
Coast.
a nice little village.
I built a house up there.
Cool.
So I've got a 20-year-old 4-wheel drive Renault Kangoo, and I've just bought for this country to get out of my drive in winter a Suzuki Jimny.
Amazing.
Which is 1,100 kilos.
Yeah. One of the brand new ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the Kangoo's 1,100 kilos. So I have to put my hand up and say I've got 4-wheel drive.
What will the fan sound like? Will it just sound like a hairdryer? Or?
You won't hear much of it when the car's running because you're a long way from the fan for a start. And of course, you've got a 660 horsepower V12 between you and the fan.
Yeah.
When this car's stopped, there's a test mode.
Okay.
And the fan and the elements all scroll through all their positions. It's like a safety check or a show-off mode, if you like, going to show your mate how it all works. You'll hear the fan then for sure.
Okay.
But not while the car's running. We're about to find out in a couple of months' time. So.
Okay.
And Extract this time have done a magic job. These turrets here are adjustable, so the in and out of gear and the cross gate are all adjustable here for the feel, the load, and the detent and the spring weight. So when we've got a rig built already, when we're trying to get the perfect gear change, you can just adjust all those. And when we've got the final setting, they have a production cassette with that setting in it that they just pop in there instead of those adjustments. And I didn't have that on the F1. It took forever to get the gear change good.
Right.
And it's good, but it's not perfect. This one has to be perfect.
And I think I saw is there's still the same switch to get into reverse
Yes,
as the
yeah,
F1.
manual lockout, yeah.
Amazing. It's good that you're not afraid of harking back to the F1. Like there might be some people.
No, it's the same architecture. It's the same target, basically, but it's a huge jump. Yeah, it's a massive jump.
Do you have an F1 of your own?
I did until 3 years ago, then I sold it. Okay. Then the reason why is because we've got such a high percentage of the owners so far are under 45. And because they grew up with the F1 on their wall as a poster, by the time they had a successful business, F1s were already $10, $15 million.
Yeah.
And that's really bad if you think about it, because I found mine, I used to put people in and go sliding around corners and, you know, wheels spin at 140 and things. You can't do that when the car's worth 25 million or something. You know, you think twice, and you can't get spare parts easily if you crash it, and the insurance premiums. So these younger people that are buying this is their, and we talk about win-win, you know, it's better than the F1. It's normal supercar insurance. They're not paying some astronomical thing. It's under warranty. All the spares are available. We'll look after customers like crazy with service. And they don't have to worry about driving around in a car that expensive. And they've got an 85% discount for a better car. So, you know, it's certainly win-win for that group of buyers, if you like. And then, of course, we've got some F1 owners who have bought this as well. And once again, I think once they've driven both, it's going to be less worrying to take this out than to take a car that's worth that much money out.
One thing I've not asked, how have you homologated the fan for the road? Or is it not for the road?
There's no regulation.
Really?
Nope. When I moved from 20 years in Formula One to doing road cars, everybody said to me, oh, you're going to hate all the regs with the number plates and the lights and all that stuff. It couldn't be more opposite. There's no performance regulations with a road car. You can do what you like.
Right.
You know? You want movable aerodynamics, you can have it. You want a fan, you can have a fan, you know.
Amazing.
So it's actually more fun in a way.
And is there there's a filter for debris,
Yeah.
I'm guessing, so you don't end up spitting.
And also we pull the air off at 90 degrees, so anything heavier than air goes straight on. We're not sucking, you know, everything up. We're pulling the air off at 90 degrees, so the airflow's doing this, we're sucking off like that, so all the heavy stuff and the rain goes straight on, and there's a filter too.
People have images of squirrels and birds flying out the other
We had
end.
one owner who came over and he said, will anything come out the back? And we said, no, we promise you. And he said, oh, that's a shame. Can we have something coming out the back?
Yeah, a little smoke machine or something.
And as I say, you know, it's so satisfying to look around the world and see, you know, there's nobody doing anything even remotely close to this.
What were the little paddle shifters?
Yeah, one's headlamp flash and one's horn.
Okay.
So to get somebody out of the way, you don't have to let go of the steering wheel.
That's good. Yeah, that gear shifter looks awesome.
Yeah, it's all titanium this time.
It's like a tiny throw as well.
Yep, very precise. Cross gate's only 9 degrees.
Is it a dog leg or is it just?
Yeah, it's a 6-speed, so it's got 3 lots of 2, if you like.
Right.
And reverse is a dog leg.
Is there anything that is directly carried over from the F1?
Nothing at all.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
So where is the main cooling? Is it one big radiator at the front?
It's 2 radiators at the front doing the water.
Okay.
And then the oil cooling for the engine and gearbox is that duct into the spine just ahead of the...
Yes.
These inlets here are for the air conditioning. Front brake cooling is underneath. I try to integrate all the ducts so the car wasn't full of holes and slots and things. And then this here is the brake cooling on the back of the engine glass.
And the active air, or is it just these?
It's these 2 spoilers.
Right, okay.
Yeah. They work in unison, of course, but we've got a little reversing camera here.
Oh, that's so cool.
And this is the stop lamp, the high-level stop lamp here.
Who manufactures the fan?
We're just doing final selection now. We've got 3 companies working on it, and we haven't picked the final selection yet, but it's all carbon. The whole thing's carbon.
So sorry, that's
This is oil cooling for the engine and gearbox, and this is rear brake cooling.
Right. Yeah, I think once you're in there, there's going to be a lot of space, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a much bigger cockpit than the F1.
Yeah.
So we got rid of the F1, if you remember, has got those two beams that run past the driver. You've got to lift your legs over. This one is flat floor. The cockpit's longer and wider, and we offer this glass roof as a no-cost option to make the cabin feel a bit lighter. And it's got 3 times the cabin stowage of the F1 too, so it's got 30 litres of interior stowage. My Alpine doesn't have any.
Yeah.
I've had to make myself a little box that fits between the 2 seats because it's got nothing for sunglasses even.
So is that your daily driver,
Yep.
the Alpine?
I have to say, when they announced the Speedtail, we did say, oh, hold on. And I said to everybody, if they're doing another F1, central drive, lightweight driver's car, we really shouldn't do 2. So we stopped. We stopped talking about it. We hadn't started designing them, but we stopped talking about it.
Right.
And then when we saw the Speedtail, and they made the statement that this is nothing to do with the F1, it's all about top speed, we were back on again. Because it wasn't going to be the little lightweight small driver's car that the F1 was. It was something complete. It's 5 meters and 1.5 tons, so it couldn't be more different.
Yeah, that's kind of the intro to my video, is all about how everything's labelled as a successor to the F1, and it was the Veyron, it was the P1, it was the Speedtail, but none of them really have any of
They didn't have the formula, did they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is there, you said there's a couple of things on the F1 that you could have improved. Has there been anything on this that you're like?
No, this one, the shape for a start, there's not a surface on this I don't like. On the F1 there's several things I really don't like when I see one.
Was that just a timing thing, or was that
No, we signed it off in clay, and you just can't see the highlights in clay. These days the tools, we don't go near clay anymore. The tools, this pool of light I wanted here with this muscle, I can see absolutely months before we start tooling the car. I can see what it's going to look like, with the tools we have now. Yeah, the F1, the deck was too flat, the plan form was too square, this was 50 mil too wide. There wasn't enough valley between the lights. And every time I see one, I think, why did I do that?
This 20 million quid car's rubbish.
No, I'm not saying it stood the test of time quite well.
Yeah.
But there are things that I signed off that I would have liked to have improved, but we just ran out of time. And the methodology now is very, very different. You can see what the car's going to look like long before you sign off tooling.
Is there anything that you keep old school? I know Adrian Newey has his drawing board and stuff.
I only work on a drawing board. Because of lockdown, they gave me an iPad to work on. I had to learn how to use it. I've only used a drawing board.
And how did you get on with the iPad? Did you like it in the end?
Yeah, I can't design on it, but I can do a Teams meeting on it. I can't even post anything up on it, but I can look. I have to say the team I've worked with on this is the best team I've ever worked with. They've done a fair. Getting across the ethos of what this was meant to be 18 months ago, and they got it. Not just the weight, but the quality of the switches and the layout and everything. And
are these people you've worked with before?
Some of them have been with me for 25 years.
Right.
And a few of them worked on the F1.
Perfect.
But I'm also talking about the younger members, they got it. My chief designer is a pretty young guy actually, and he's indoctrinated now with lightweight, high quality, tactile feel.
Yeah.
Amount of time we've spent on the switches. We found a British switch company who'll make all the switches from scratch. There's no injection molded plastic. Everything's machined from solid aluminium. And the haptics and the feel of the switch, we spent months on it.
Yeah.
I jump back in an F1 and there's a bit of spindle movement and I go,
I feel bad for the F1 now.
No, it's still, don't get me wrong, it's still a good car, but it could have been a lot better.
It's crazy that rev counter goes to 13. That's just insane. Were you saying it will be stepped? Or
I'm not sure this time. It depends. You hit it spot on. If there's too much inertia and we're going to wind the spindle off, we might have to have it with a chronometric step again.
Yeah, as a kid, seeing that, I think it was Tiffany Dell's drive of it, and you saw the rev counter doing that. That just seemed so cool.
Yeah.
As if it just couldn't cope with this engine behind it. Is there a track, if you were to do like a dynamic reveal of the car? Is there a specific track you'd like to do it on?
I haven't even thought about it yet. I mean, as I say, most of the development work will be at Millbrook, but I'm sure we'll use other tracks as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gordon.
Pleasure.
It's been amazing.
No, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to doing some more when we've got some running cars,
Yeah, absolutely.